Sooners, Brent Venables.
All right. Well, good afternoon, good morning. I know it's close to lunchtime here. How was Mateer? Was Mateer good?
It's great.
All right, good. Got them all dialed up. I'm really looking forward for y'all to get an opportunity to visit with the rest of our newcomers. And it's a great group of guys, so you guys are going to enjoy that. It's good to see everybody. One of my favorite times of the year for all the reasons you would expect, building a new team and just a lot of different things that are going on all at once. And it's been a while since we've been together, so just to kind of recap and unwind just a few things as we get started here. Just wanted to say, well, how exciting it is to announce that Jim Nagy is as our new GM. Couldn't be more thrilled, excited. The administration did a wonderful job of getting a really small pool of candidates and through a very thorough interview process. There was a great alignment that Jim would be. I know it's been called a home run, but that's how we felt, inside as well. And for all the reasons, that you expected, he's got this incredible football mind and all of the depths of experience and just his levels of expertise in building rosters, the connections, the relationships that he has with all people with football at all levels, both professionally and collegiately, whether that's the scouts, that's the head coaches, that's the agents, that's the players. And he's represented, just been first class, his entire career. He's a guy that has this connection to three different staffs that, won Super Bowls. And so a lot of people have been scouts for a long time, but not that the resumes don't all look the same. And so we're really looking forward as a staff and certainly myself to be able to work alongside Jim and in this new professionalized model that we have. Not, I'm a traditionalist. I know I've said that several times over the last few years. Loyal to a fault in many ways, but also I'm smart enough to realize things don't always stay the same, and you have to adapt and pivot and adjust to the new landscape, and it's changing every few hours, as we know, tongue in cheek. But the structure that we've put in place and that Jim and the staff that he creates in that front office space will get us closer to a professionalized, model in talent retention, talent acquisition, player valuations, contract negotiations, and so much more. Just looking at short-term and long-term, there's a capology that goes into this. That's a very complicated space, and you've had to kind of figure it out, year by year. The last, since it really started, I think most people we don't know what the rules are, what the limitations are, and how things are going to change. And so you've done the best that you could under the circumstances. These last few years. So we're all looking forward to that structure and the boundaries and the guardrails that will be in place through that structure to help you be successful. And I just appreciate the administration for carefully and thoughtfully, putting together this model through a lot of hard work and research. Led by both Randall and Joe both, and as well as President Harris in nailing this and getting it right. So obviously the test of time will always tell, but there's still a traditional personal part of the recruiting process, and so for all the ways that it's like similar to an NFL space, college football I'm talking about, there's also ways that it's not. The age group is much different level of maturity that you're dealing with, and we don't get to draft guys. We gotta recruit them. I can't make somebody like me, and or like us, and you've got to recruit them, and you still have to sell something other, in my belief, other than monetary, value. If you can get the same or something close to the same everywhere, then what else is it? And so there's a development piece, and certainly an education piece that we don't ever want to lose sight of. Because the reality is, it's a very small percentage. The national percentage is under 3%. Okay, of the guys in most college locker room, the average college locker room will ever get an opportunity to be on an opening day roster in the NFL. And so, but we can. The number is going to be a little higher at a place like Oklahoma, and but so we've got to do a great job of continuing to sell, the entirety of the education after football as well. But again, those last minutes today, it's not really get an opportunity to be around as well. But just absolutely thrilled. Again, an assassin on the field, but just a great human being as well, and great leader off the field. So looking forward to partnering up with him and his staff as he builds that out. Just a few other things, just to, again, just to kind of catch up. I wanted to just comment on the combine and how Danny and Billy and Ethan. I think we had 11 scholarship seniors that and no underclassmen declared for the draft. So we had 11 scholarship seniors that were available to be able to go to be invited to the combine. We had 3 of them that got invited, and those 3 guys just crushed it. Did a great job, and not surprised in any way. I think they all created some value for themselves, and so I would just like to. That's the next step, and there's nobody, it's not like that they're at the finish line by any stretch, but man, that's a great moment. They all dreamt of that, and I know y'all have done a great job of covering that and celebrating, that kind of that milestone for them and the next step in their process. But the rest of those guys will have an opportunity next Tuesday. We'll have our pro day here, and that's coming right around the corner. Something that was interesting about the combine, of the 300 plus total numbers that are invited to the combine, 25%, just under 25% of that total number were either they came from a non-power 4 school, or they were out of school, but they transferred. They were at a power 4 school, but they had transferred from a non-power 4 school. So 1 out of 4, started their collegiate careers at a non-power 4 school. Just I thought that was an interesting factoid, so to speak. Got a couple of coaches that added to our staff, since I know they've been announced, but just couldn't be more thrilled. Now we've had the last few days of some OTAs, certainly the last 8 weeks of being together and putting in our systems on both sides of the ball and working with our players as well. But the last few days in OTAs and things like that. But Nate Dreiling and Wes Goodwin, just 2 fantastic football coaches with great careers. Just different sample sizes, but just they've represented excellence, and obviously had a relationship with Wes that goes back quite a ways. And I tried to. He was a guy that I was likely going to hire as a position coach here on our first staff, and Coach Sweeney named him as the defensive coordinator. I wasn't surprised. Incredibly highly qualified, and he did a fantastic job while he was at Clemson. Every year they had different things that they achieved, but he's going to work specifically with our cheetahs, and I think 8 of the 9 linebackers that he coached and over those 3 years were all ACC selections. Barrett Carter and Jeremiah Trotter, both of them were multi-year first-team All-Americans and Butkus Award finalist as well. Sammy Brown was the National Freshman of the Year, and Trenton Simpson got drafted, I think in the second or third round to the Baltimore Ravens, and just did a fantastic job. They led the nation in 2023 in defensive touchdowns. In 2023, they led the nation in turnovers as well. In 2022, they're second in country in sacks with 44 sacks. They're top 10 in the country, number 8 overall, and 23 as the defense coordinator, total defense. And in 22 led the country in tackles for loss as well, amongst many other things. But want to make sure I do a great job of accurately, um, you know, letting y'all know who he is, and certainly our players as well. But a coach that's won a national championship and coached in several conference championships as well, and somebody that, man, I'm just thrilled to have. And we built a lot of great defenses together and won a bunch of games together, and he's plugged right in with the rest of our staff. And then Nate Dreiling, if I could, one of the most attractive qualities that there was about Nate Dreiling is just a winner. Everything he's done, he's won. I recruited at his high school, recruited Gino Grissom out of Hutchinson High School. Nate's dad was the head coach, Randy Dreiling, at the time, and I think they maybe had won 5 straight state championships. They won more in a row there, but at that time maybe 5 or 6. And I said, Coach, man, how do you win 5 straight state championships? And he said, my secret sauce is we lift on game day. And and I thought that was awesome. And I think more than anything, it just is a mentality. And his team thought they were going to physically beat people up. But Gino came out of that that environment, and I really loved Nate as a recruit out of high school. We didn't offer him, and he was just a step slow, and we missed on him because he was a hell of a player. You guys know, probably, again, I would just remind you, he's a 4-time All-American, collegiate All-American. He was the National Freshman of the Year, led the nation in tackles as a freshman, won a national championship as a senior, and and comes from an amazing pedigree. I think his dad's won 10 plus state championships there in the state of Kansas, both at St. Thomas Aquinas, where he's at now in Kansas City, and as well as Hutchinson High School. But Nate is a guy that comes from, I'm attracted to, he came from programs where he had to figure out how to do more with less. And he worked at a school there in New Mexico State with what we just call ball coaches. Jerry Keel, one of the best football coaches in the last several decades in college football. A great leader. Reminds me of Jerry Keel. He's a lot like a Bill Schneider, in my opinion. And then also worked alongside, I think, Coach Beck, that's now the OC at Vanderbilt. They were coordinators there, and they took a really bad unit and immediately had an immediate impact. And we had actually watched some of their crossover games and some opponents that we had played, and some of our coaches had built relationships with Nate and had a familiarity from his football acumen. That's it, and watched him do a really good job and under the circumstances, but really produced some really good units and some statistics, and some things that he was able to do. Was thrown into the fire. Took a coordinator job at Utah State, and was thrown in the fire as the interim head coach when they let their head coach go last July, I believe it was. And as his wife is battling breast cancer, he courageously took that upon himself. And it also told me a lot. You just got there, and they named you as their interim head coach. You obviously have made an impact, some shape, form, or fashion. Not surprised. Again, he's an alpha. That's who I would say Nate Dreiling is. But one of the most attractive things as I was interviewing several people that I had with Nate is, he said, man, I'll walk to Norman, Oklahoma. And I don't care about money. I don't care about titles. I want to come work for you and work with that staff and coach at Oklahoma. And I want to help you be successful. And that's not the only reason, but that was another. Some people are really needy, and that's fine too. We had plenty of resources to make sure we got the right guy. So between the two, I got 2 guys that have coordinator experience. They've got this amazing pedigree and track record not lengthy, but really good in a very short amount of time. And then, just like I'd hoped, man, it's been the chemistry and the cohesion, which is incredibly important, and you can't put a value on immediately. Man, this is a group that has great mutual respect and trust, and really feel very strong in the depth of knowledge and all situational football, all the things from a coordinator standpoint. You're going to go bam, 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 and there is an alignment in some of the philosophies in all of those different areas as well. That's going to mesh really well and has meshed with our staff. So I've been remiss if I just didn't mention those two guys, and they'll get an opportunity as well here this spring to get in front of y'all, so you can get to know them and their families as well um, as they help us this season and this spring certainly. Just a few other things as well that I wanted to touch base with. You guys know that we lost 32, I think 32 scholarship players, and we signed 32 scholarship players, both in the transfer portal, and 19 on offense and 11 on defense. And then we signed two scholarship specialists, and we got a couple of other guys as well that are preferred walk-ons. And then we also put Ben Anderson, who's he's one of the he's going to play this game a long time as one of our scholarship players. Ben Anderson, our long snappers, he's now on scholarship as well. But we do have a few players that will not be available, and I wanted to cover that with you guys. You have 9 guys that your typical out of season. Hey man, let's get these guys. A lot of guys battled through some injuries. I know it's been well documented. All the guys that were banged up and didn't play during the season. But there's several guys that actually just played through some injuries that aren't abnormal. Heath Ozida will be out, had a labrum. Cade McIntyre had a labrum, just been high school injury. Jaden Jackson played all year with a labrum tear, so he'll be out. Logan Howland, same thing. Guys that just fought through it and battled through it, and but they'll all missed the spring. Seth Freeman showed up here. He didn't have an ACL, didn't even know it, as a long snapper. KJ Daniels, he's had a hamstring from high school. Just he can't get over it, and we're going to help him get over it. Just keep him. It's a severe hamstring injury, so he'll miss most of the spring. Andy Bass re-injured his ACL, so he's back at it a second time. And Javante got hurt in a game there late in the season, and with a foot, and so we're going to keep him out of the spring. And then Darius Afalava had a high school injury that he's been a part of OTAs and might do it the next couple of days, and then we're going to put him on the shelf and get this old a cleanup job on one of his knees, just something that he's battled through, and just with the pain. So he'll miss the rest of spring. And we'll have a handful of guys like a Peyton Bone that will be part-time, and he's a guy that battled through a turf toe all last season, and really affected him. And he just played through it week in and week out. And those turf toes are really just it's a really funky injury. And then we'll have a handful of other guys. Gentry Williams will be a guy that he'll be cleared during the spring, but we'll try to take care of him as well, and be just a guy that we give him some individual work, but not any of the contact stuff, things of that nature. So I want to give you guys an update on that as well. And we've had 8 weeks of training, and again, as I started out in opening up, just it's a fun time of the year to build a new team with your returners and all the new guys, both in the transfer portal and our high school guys. Really fun time, but between our mat drills and the weight room made a tremendous amount of gains, and I got a long ways to go. Get these guys used to all of our systems and how we do what we do, the weight room, academics, and we had our fifth straight semester as well, academically breaking academic records. So having good habits in the classroom is important. I think it bleeds over into every part of your life too. And so guys have bought in to that as well. And we have some young guys that, for example, again, when I can appreciate the older guys being great examples, guys like Ethan and Billy and Woody Washington and Danny Stutzman, guys that got their degrees and not only got their degrees, but man, achieved at a really high level. But they're, guys like that have, passed it down to, Robert or Peyton, Kobe, Kip, those types of guys as well, Gentry, Eli, those are all guys that are really high academic guys. But now you got a guy like Mike Fasusi comes in here, and Mike's doing great in football, but he's also, man, he's got A's in all of his classes. And so I could go on and on about that too. But the habits and the standards that those guys are, passing those things on and nurturing that in the locker room, it makes a big difference. But team building, and again, transition and time management, all those things that new players, whether they've been in college or not, but this is how we do it. This is how Schmitty does it. This is how Schmitty's staff does it. This is how we do mat drills, and here's how we do fourth quarter drills, and this is how we do speed school, and this is how we do walkthroughs. All those things that are brand new for so many guys. So, and then every year you kind of start over and you reestablish, things that, standards and expectations and things of that nature. Go right back to the basics and you build it from the ground up. But really pleased with the gains that we made over the last 2 months in the weight room and with our speed school as well. It's very palpable. Some of the young guys that are eating 3+ meals a day for the first time in their lives, they made even more gains. But you've seen it across the board, and now again, just systems and cohesion and building your leadership, and then the trust, the accountability. All those things are important to building your team so you have a good product in the fall. There's no guarantees for anything, obviously, but I think foundationally it takes that. And so been real committed to building that out the right way, and still have a tremendous amount of work to do as well. So really fun time, as I said, that time of the year. We went back and looked just studies wise. It's been close to 2-to-1 from an injury standpoint. When we had an inordinate amount of injuries this year compared to our first 2 years, and so looked back at every part of our program and where we can get better and just be more efficient and keep our guys healthy. But 2-to-1, the injuries occurred games as opposed to practice, and that's no surprise being around the game a long time. That's right about on par. But that did have a little bit to do with our decision for the spring game, and everything's changed in college football. And again, I'm a traditionalist at heart, and I look at how we build and develop our team, and certainly there are no preseason games. You wish there were, but the reality is, it's a very dumbed down version. You're not showing a whole lot. You're keeping it very safe. You're doing quick whistles. You're getting all your good players out fast. Well, our roster is not the same. We've got close to 30 guys less than what we had a year ago at this time. Plus, you've got 9 guys that aren't participating all, and then you got another 8, 9, 10 guys that aren't available for contact right now. So there's another 20 guys. So, all that being said, the roster structure in college across the board. If I said one thing in the healthy space, when you get it healthy, you say, what's different outside of the sheer numbers? What I see, because of the landscape and open-ended free agency, you don't have as much competitive depth. That's real, and what we've have been afforded in the last few years is different now. And guys aren't willing to be as patient, and so whether that's a financial opportunity or hey man, I don't care where I got to go, I'm just want to be the starter. And now I can leave at any point in time. That's real as well. So don't have the same competitive depth as you got $20+ million, now roughly invested in a roster now on top of the scholarships. And then you have an opportunity to we'll have a normal practice that day and where we get good situational work. We got quick whistles, keeping people off the ground, but we don't have the roster to divide up teams, and we just don't have those numbers. And but fan engagement's always been incredibly important to me. I think it's a great time of the year to be able to do that. And so I think, uh, administratively, that we've come up with some really unique ways to still get a chance to see these guys compete and some of their talents and keep them out of harm's way. Things of that nature. So excited about what that'll look like. And I know it's different. Change is not a lot of fun for anyone, and but we'll just try to adapt and pivot and do what is best for this team and how we try to develop it, get it ready for a really challenging 2025 season. So with that, I got an opportunity for a few questions.